In the days of George Washington, learn our ways. Be more like us, and we will live in peace. And in 30 years, they had transformed their nation, writing a constitution while incorporating traditional Cherokee values. Sequoia, the Cherokee genius, had developed a way of reading and writing in the Cherokee language, and we sponsored a speaking tour of our young men telling Cherokee stories in the Northeast and raised the money for a printing press. So we translated the Bible and printed it in Cherokee. We translated all the hymns we loved and printed them in Cherokee. And we had the first Indian newspaper in the world printed in Cherokee. So by the time the Georgians were clamoring for our land, this was not, well, no part really ever was, a complete wilderness. It was a settled and shining land of a proud and prosperous people. And when the Supreme Court found in our favor, the Cherokees said, "We've won." And Andrew Jackson became the only president in the history of the United States to openly defy the Supreme Court. He is said to have remarked, Andrew Jackson, "John Marshall has made his decision. Let him enforce it." And to the Georgians he said, "Light a fire under them. They'll move." And the Georgians began crossing into our borders, lynching Cherokee men, raping Cherokee women, beating Cherokee children, burning homes. The nation, the bloodshed. And finally, one small faction, they began to believe that there was no way to stay. And so they gave Chicken Snake Jackson the treaty that he wanted, ceding our homeland for land west of the Mississippi. Now, the traders, the treaty signers, they signed that treaty, they moved, but the Cherokees refused. It was not signed by a single member of their legitimate government. How could it have any power over them? And so they refused to leave. And when the grace period in the treaty had expired, General Winfield Scott and his cavalry moved into the Cherokee Nation and began rounding up the families at gunpoint. You were allowed to take what you could carry on your back, and they herded the people into 7 great wooden stockades like cattle. And in June of 1838, the first detachment of Cherokees left for the west. They were supposed to be on flatboats following the river routes, but it had been a winter and a spring of drought, and the rivers were impassable, and so they walked, following the rivers in the sickly period of summer. And weak and sick from the weeks of captivity in the stockades, the Cherokees began to die. Mostly the very old and the very young. And after days and days of this suffering, the hearts of the Cherokee women broke. They no longer did the things they needed to do to take care of their families. They walked as though in a daze, some of them carrying the bodies of their little ones because they couldn't believe they had gone. And the men, when they saw the place where the women were, they grew frightened. And so they went out into the night to pray. Une plana, Creator, take pity on us. The strength of the Cherokee Nation is the strength of our women. If our women cannot survive, the people will not survive. And Creator took pity on those men and spoke to them, saying, tell your women in the morning to look back at the trail they have watered with their tears. I will send them a sign. And so in the morning when the women awoke, the men told them what Creator had said, and they felt better. And they went about preparing for the long day's walk. And as they stepped onto the path, they looked behind them. And there, springing from the trail they had followed, were strong green vines that leaped into the air, touched the earth, roots sinking deep. Strong vines covered in thorns that were braiding themselves together and growing back to the homeland. And as they watched in wonder, the vines, 7 leaves on a sprout, 7 for the 7 clans of the Cherokee. And at the end of every one of the stems, with the 7 leaves, there grew a little white flower. White, the Cherokee color for peace. But in the center of each white flower, there was a tiny little circle of gold. Gold. So the Cherokees would remember it was greed that had driven them from their home. But when the women saw the beautiful flowers growing back toward the homeland they loved so much, they remembered that as long as there is beauty in the world, there is hope. And so they found the strength to finish that walk. And when the word had gone back to the east of the terrible death toll of these early detachments, Chief John Ross knew that he could not fight anymore. And so he went to Winfield Scott. And he said, all right, we will go. But let us move ourselves. Let us plan our own removal. Call a halt to the detachments that are leaving in the sickly season of summer. We will go. But we will go as a nation, not as cattle driven down the trail. And Winfield Scott, whose own heart had been broken by the duty that had been laid on him, agreed. They say that Andrew Jackson was furious, but it didn't matter. Winfield Scott had agreed. And so the Cherokees worked hard all that summer, building wagons, or making arrangements for food, doing everything they can, and the first groups began leaving again in October of that year and continued through the winter. But just as the drought and the summer had been full of illness, the worst blizzards in history struck the Cherokees on the trail. And so the deaths continued. Over 4,000 Cherokee people, a quarter of our nation, died in the stockades, on the long walk, and in that time following the removal. But the Cherokees, when they reached their new home, they did as they have done so many times before. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, they were born anew in their new homeland. They rebuilt their government. They rebuilt their institutions. They kindled the sacred fire at our ceremonial grounds. And today we tell that story. We tell that story to remind our young people of what their ancestors went through so that they could be who they are. And we tell the story of the beautiful little Cherokee rose. You know that little rose? You've seen it here, I'm sure, because it grew back along the trail and covered the mountains that we love. And we tell that story of the little rose so that we will never forget where there is beauty, there is hope.